everyone, and welcome back to the innovative and subversive Comic Vault. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Eric, what have we pulled from the vault to review today?
We're going to review Batwoman Ellegy, which ran in, what was it, Detective 854 to 860.
To 860.
There are 3 more issues that Rucka wrote that are drawn by Jacques that I had forgotten existed, because I read this in issues. I was reading Detective Comics when this happened.
Are they the next consecutive 3?
Yes.
Because 861 still says Batwoman at the top, but I don't know if she's in it.
It is still Batwoman.
Is it? Okay.
It's a
because the
story
first few pages, I thumbed through it. The first few pages of that it's Dick Grayson Batman, and so I just wasn't sure if she was even in it.
It's a story arc called Cutter that I remember nothing about and forgot existed until I was looking at something when we were doing this, because they've re-released this twice, and I was like, how are there more pages? Like, is there that much Batman? I looked up, I was like, 61 to 63? And I looked up, I was like, I remember those covers! But it's not J.H. Williams. And there's a whole thing about how this was supposed to be a 12-issue story. This is clearly the first 2 acts of a 3-act story.
Yeah.
And he just never got to finish it.
I was going to ask you about that, because my biggest disappointment with this, I'll just start there, because this is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But let me start with the big disappointment. And this is an easy thing to say with the thing you like. The biggest disappointment is that it ended. But with this, it is that because it reads like the first arc, and in a way kind of 2 arcs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It sort of reads like the first, like you said, the first 2 acts of a 3-act thing. It reads like the first 2 arcs of a really long run.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this should go 40 or 50 issues. This should be like Agent Venom or Batgirl or something. Like a Sandra Cain. And it's disappointing to me that it didn't either start as its own book, or that she wasn't the main character and detective for like at least as long as Lex was for Action.
This gets knocked around a bunch, because I think this is originally supposed to be a Batwoman series, then they decided to put in Detective, and then they were guaranteed 12 issues, and then, like, Rucka was guaranteed 12 issues with J.H. Williams on Detective, and then he doesn't get that, and then what was going to be the third arc was going to be the first arc in Batwoman, but then it couldn't be because it's not an introduction, it's the third act of a 3-act story, so that can't be the first arc, and that never happens, and Rucka quits DC. And I've never read the New 52 stuff. I've heard it's good, but I never touched it because it wasn't Rucka.
And I didn't read it because I never got around to reading this. This is my first time, by the way, reading
rereading this makes me want to try that stuff and see if it's good.
Me too. And the only other Batwoman that I've read is the more recent Rebirth Detective stuff, which is not great.
Mm-hmm.
And throws her dad under the bus real hard.
Yeah,
he becomes the villain of that.
That's disappointing.
It is.
But yeah.
That's not what I would have done with it, especially after this. And the relationship is so interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what they do with them in 52.
I don't either.
So, like, maybe based on that stuff, it sort of makes sense that we got there, even if that stuff sucks. But
well, with this stuff, you should differentiate 52 and New 52 because she starts in 52.
We should. I meant New 52.
Yes.
Yes, I also wanted to talk to you about that because I had to go look that up and remind myself where she started, and that was 52. I knew that, but I'd forgotten. And this does not hold your hand at all.
No. Mine comes with, the trade comes with like a little thing right at the beginning that says, like, here's the things you missed. For for those that came in late.
He doesn't do any recapping. There's no, and like, I appreciate this is a mercy, but there's not any exposition in dialogue that really gives you a lot of that background. There's a place where she's just thinking about Renee Montoya in the middle of a fight and just says Renee, and you wouldn't know what in the world she was talking about, and that they had a relationship or anything by that scene. It comes back
that
again.
We do at least double back.
That we come back and talk about.
We don't really explain the religion of crime thing.
No, I don't know what's going on with that.
Well, it's a religion built around crime.
No, I know that, but I'm lost at first because like I'm having to piece it all together because her dad's like, you got impaled and you almost died.
That is Rucka's story in 52.
Yeah,
is the Batwoman question stuff is the religion of crime. And that's kind of the stuff he keeps playing with after that. Because it's here, it's also in his Question miniseries, and I
is that where Renee Montoya becomes the Question, or was she already the Question?
Yes, no, that is when she becomes the Question.
And Rucka does both of those things together.
Yes.
And so they're like, it's like a team-up thing? They're like dating and fighting crime together, or?
I think they're already broken up at that point. No, they have to be,
Okay.
because she's Batwoman, in the flashbacks,
right?
They break up before she becomes Batwoman.
Oh, okay.
Because she runs into her in that dive bar and she's like, what are you even doing here?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, they previously had a relationship. Like, much previously.
Something else I want to bring up, because I think I may have made a mistake months or years ago talking about the Supergirl TV show. I didn't know Maggie Sawyer was a lesbian.
Yes.
That's news to me.
I
thought they made that up. I thought Supergirl did it because they really wanted a lesbian character right then, and they wanted to do the like kind of pseudo Batwoman cop thing, which is funny because then later they're doing Batwoman now. And I thought it was like, well, we don't have access to Renee Montoya, so we made it Maggie Sawyer. But in my defense, they also made her Hispanic.
Oh, weird.
So it really felt like they really wanted Renee Montoya, but they just couldn't use it. And like, Sawyer is not a Hispanic name.
That's in, I don't know if it's revealed there or if he does it earlier, but I know it in, the first place I know it is Gotham Central in that Renee Montoya story arc that we did read.
Yes. I gotta go back and read the rest of it.
Maggie Sawyer comes in and has a conversation with her because she's openly out and Renee was not and was outed.
I'm remembering that now. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not even revealed here. We knew that already.
No. Yeah. We knew that. And she is the woman that Batwoman was supposed to marry, and the DC said our superheroes don't get married.
Okay. They didn't even care about the lesbian thing. They just didn't want anybody to marry off.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Because at first I had that knee-jerk reaction where I was like, well, is this being a little bit stereotypical where it's like all of your strong women have to be lesbian, where it's like you know all the female cops are lesbians, and then they like Rucka talks about it in this, where she kind of breaks it down and is like, yeah, it kind of makes sense that so many female cops are like we talk about it, and I kind of appreciated that he was thoughtful about it and talked.
Well,
and
a lot of that stuff is building on Gotham Central, which had non-lesbian female cops as well.
Yes, of course. It's just that we've gotten to a place. I'm just saying I had kind of a knee-jerk reaction to it because I was like, is that a little bit too stereotypical? Where like all of the or like the two really big female police officers that I can think of in DC are lesbians now, and he won me over on it. I didn't really have any problem with it. He wrote Gotham Central also, right?
Yes. It's him and Brubaker.
He's just building on his own stuff.
Yeah. A lot of this is building on stuff that he did in other places. It feels like there's like how like some writers almost have like their own little universe where like they jump from different books, but like they build on themselves. Rucka was doing that.
She is such an incredibly well fleshed out character.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 6 issues, I feel like I've been reading this character for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. No, you get an incredible sense of like who she is.
And I love how deeply principled she is. All the stuff about how important the truth is to her is great, especially with the breakdown that she and her father have at the end over what he's not told her about her sister. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into some synopsis here in a second.
Well, and I like the rooting in the don't ask, don't tell thing. In the issue for her is even more fundamental in that she will not lie about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't feel like it's making a big grandstand statement about the politics of that. It's just using some real world, at the time, current issues to tell its story, and it's just really good drama, right? Like,
we are about a decade away from having to retcon her origin. Because that's not policy anymore.
You're going to get to the point where she would be too old. Yeah, mm-hmm. That's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly wouldn't. And honestly, even before that happened, I want to say the military, or at least a lot of pockets of it, would have been more lax than they were here.
Mm. But this is also, was it like 10 years prior? Like 5 years? Like this comes out in like 2010, 2009. But like that story takes place in like 2002.
Right, because it was so many years before it.
But like if you do like the new Batwoman TV show,
mm-hmm.
Is it gonna happen in 2012? We didn't even have Don't Ask, Don't Tell in 2012.
It's a really good point, and they put it in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So that scene is, we know that scene's there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point.
But that's the thing I've been saying about Batwoman for a while, is because it's like 2 years after this gets published, we undo Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And I was like, well, at some point we have to change that origin because...
yeah, it's already outdated.
That's an important part of her origin story, and we don't have it anymore. I'd be willing to.
It's really funny. It's like the whole Dick Grayson with the circus thing, except we still have the circus for a good several decades. Like,
I'd be willing to guess that a lot of newer comic book fans, or not newer, younger comic book fans, if they pick this up because they like Batwoman either on TV or they
just
read
think
a
that costume
detective or
looks cool
whatever.
or whatever.
Yeah, if they pick this up, they're not going to know exactly what's happening in that scene.
that would feel kind of foreign to
The
me.
way that I did immediately when I read it when it was coming out in issues.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't hit them in the same place it did a lot of us when we knew that all that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it would probably feel kind of outdated, and they'd be like, oh, wow, apparently not that long ago we weren't as progressive as we would have liked to have thought we were. No, that's a really good point, yeah. This is very much, and that's the risk you take with a thing like this. Like, as a singular piece, set in the time that it's set in, it's great, but what do you do with it moving forward?
Well, there was no reason to believe that that was going to go away as fast as it did.
No, and there was also no reason to think that Batwoman was necessarily going to be anything like a staple.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, I
she
think
could
they
have
wanted her
gotten.
to be.
You think so?
Yeah, they pushed her real hard. Like coming out of 52 and then into this, like they pushed her real hard.
And of course, I'm not saying that you can't that it doesn't still make a lot of sense now to tell stories about families and friends and people struggling with accepting somebody who is homosexual, because of course that still happens. But you can't pretend like we haven't made the strides, at least in politically, that we have. So
There's some
DC
stuff
needs to figure something out with that, and I really wish the TV show had figured that out.
There's some stuff in this that I was like, this made sense when it was written, but I don't know if this scene would play if you wrote it today. The stuff with her stepmom, complaining about how
It's
she
just how
dresses
stuck
and
up she
stuff.
is?
No, complaining that she dresses like in a suit and stuff. I'm not sure that goes over
I don't
in
even-
2019.
Here's the thing, that one's okay because of the stuck up part. Like you can chalk that up to high society. She's supposed to be wearing a dress.
I guess you're right.
I think you're right. I think in most circles, a lot of people wouldn't even think that much about it. Like if she just showed up in.
I didn't get it
in
at
more
first,
of
but I was
a-
like, what's wrong
of a
with
suit?
how she's dressed? I was like, oh, it's because she's not in a dress. Okay.
Yeah.
It took me a second where I was like,
I'm not saying that's not because, I mean, she's stuck up and she's she's all rich and hoity-toity about it, but B, it is because she's looking down on her because she's a lesbian. That's
or at least just her style.
Yeah.
I don't get the sense from her that she necessarily doesn't accept that part of her as much as she doesn't like she doesn't like that she's got tattoos and like how she dresses normal. The like kind of like
You're right. Maybe she doesn't
thing.
even care about her sexual orientation if only she didn't act butch. Or because she doesn't like that she's drawing attention to herself. I really like that exchange in that scene, where she says, "Do you have to draw so much attention to yourself?" And she says, "No, I'm just not hiding."
I think that's
There's nothing entitled about that.
no.
Like I like that a lot, where she's like, "Well, I'm just going to be myself and dress the way I want to dress, but it's not because I'm trying to get people to notice me. I'm not walking around with a big neon sign that says I'm a lesbian or whatever." But she's also not going to hide it. That's just who she is. So she's just going to.
Yeah.
It would be different if she showed up and was disrespectful and wouldn't even dress up for the occasion. That'd be different. She wore a suit. She looks good.
Yeah. She didn't wear like jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
This thing I was gonna say. I love her design. I love her normal haircut.
So much.
And I love the way she dresses. And the tattoos. It immediately makes her so distinct from any other Bat character.
Well, yeah, and of course the military thing does too.
Well, and there's that great page. I think it's actually an issue cliffhanger to the next issue where she pulls out the gun and it's a gas gun. I thought that was great.
I was confused about the gun thing for a minute because I thought it was just a regular gun, and then there's that great exchange. I mean, Rucka's, it goes without saying, he's such a good writer, and he's such a good dialogue writer. And of course, my favorite Batman thing really ever is his prose novel for No Man's Land. I mean, the man's just such a good dialogue writer. I love that exchange where she says we're observing, or her dad says, because they're on a mission together, we're observing the Batman rule, and she says, I'm always observing the Batman rule. I like that a lot.
Or I think the Batman rule is in effect. And
it's always in effect.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I love that even with her military background, she still doesn't kill.
Do you think, and I was going to ask you if you thought it would make sense either way, if she was a character that could get away with a gun. The reason I like that she doesn't, or could get away with killing people when she feels like she has to, this is not a Huntress type character.
No, she's upholding the symbol of Batman.
Yeah, and she walks this line where, and this is the contradiction of the character, and this is one of the things I love so much about her. And this is fun because I knew some things about this character. I knew she was. I knew she was a lesbian. I knew she was in the military. I knew about her relationship with her dad. I knew that her dad was kind of her Alfred in a way. I knew all of that.
He's an actual man in the chair.
Yes, he is. That's true. But I didn't know what her fundamental principles were. I didn't know what she was all about. And that's what I really grabbed a hold of, and what made me think, oh, there's like 100-issue run with this character that could be written.
I think Rucka would have liked to have had that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to do with this character, and her having a TV show makes sense. There's a lot to do, whatever the CW actually does with it. She's a decent role model. I mean, there's a lot you can do with her principles. But the contradiction with her is, it's not about revenge, but it is about revenge, and that's also Batman. And I love that so much.
Well, and it comes down to the Batman thing when her dad breaks it down and says, if this is about getting revenge on for your brother or your sister or what happened to you, then we're done.
Yeah.
If it's about making sure that doesn't happen to anyone else.
If it's about if it's about saving one person,
then that's all very
then
Batman.
you've done a good thing.
It's interesting how...
And her background is so different from Batman, but they arrive to the same place.
It's interesting how much, more so than a lot of tangent side spin-off characters we do, this is a Batman character.
Yes.
Like, this exists in the same universe as Batman, that all makes sense, but it is a different character.
Which is why, and I'm sorry if it sounds like I keep making pot shots at the CW, but you know what I'm going to say.
It looks like a Batman show?
It's the reason it would have made so much sense for her to come up with the Batman idea in the first place. You don't need a Bruce Wayne in that universe. Let her be Batman. Let her come up with it.
You know what else I like about this that sets her apart, and I kind of forgot?
But the way in this she is influenced by Batman is great. She reads the bat signal differently than anybody has ever read it. I love that. It's a call to arms. It scares criminals, and it maybe tells him when it's time to show up and stop something, but for everybody else, that is the symbol. The symbol is you're supposed to do what Batman does to some degree, in that you need to be helping out your fellow man when they're in danger, regardless of whether or not you're wearing a uniform, whether or not you're a police officer. And it harkens back, and I think it might have been Rucka who wrote this line, but I can't remember what issue it's in. And I brought this up before, and I need to go find the issue, because I don't know where it is. But it harkens back to a line in the early 2000s, several years before, 02, 03, or maybe it was during RIP, but it's before this, where Batman... Well, I couldn't have been Rucka if it was during RIP. I don't know where it is. But there's a line, and I've mentioned this on the channel before, where Batman says, if everyone did what he did, there wouldn't be any reason for Batman. And that's her upholding that principle, that to some degree everyone is supposed to be doing what Batman does. So good.
One of the things I really like that differentiates Batwoman from any other Bat title is there's a mystical component, which doesn't look present at all in the TV show. But there's a mystical component,
which is weird because there could be, because you have Constantine in that universe.
And I really like that as the. This is why it's not just chick Batman. This book is a little bit different from Batman and well, this is Detective Comics, but Detective Comics and like I like that as our book's not, it's not just a Batman book. You didn't like it?
I didn't care for it,
okay.
or at least I didn't think it was necessary. I thought that was just there for that arc, and it was sort of like the Circle of Four thing with Venom, where maybe you would do an occult thing occasionally, but I didn't read it as this is a book that if it were to continue going, well, I say a book, it's in detective, but this is a story that if we were to continue to go serialized for a lot of years, it would always have some kind of mystical component. I did not get that from
Well,
it.
the only thing I've ever read with Batwoman is that, which is this and 52, and 52,
52 does that
which
too?
is, well, because it's all the religion of crime. I assumed
forgot about
the
yes,
religion of
course,
crime
sure.
is the backbone to the Batwoman. Like, if Rucka keeps writing her.
And that, like, that's her arch nemesis.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the new 52 continues with that, but I don't know because I haven't read that stuff.
Well, maybe I could be more won over with it down the line. It's just, part of it is just, I don't immediately...
You know about the werewolves?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get excited about monsters in the first place, and I don't get excited about occult stuff in the first place, and I really don't get excited about villains that are constantly spewing nonsense, but I'm trying to read something into it. I don't like that either.
I like the merging of the... I like the idea of the religion of crime in general. The idea of, like, merging, like, the grounded, like, and the mystical in that way, I think is a really interesting idea.
What's grounded about it?
Just, it's like street crime. Like,
Oh, I see what you're
like
saying.
it's taking...
I thought you meant something about the religion of crime itself is merging grounded stuff with mystical stuff.
What?
You just mean the book, yeah.
Well, the religion of crime is the idea that there is a religion behind crime.
Okay.
Like, I
All
think
right.
that's such an interesting concept that you could only ever get away with in a comic book.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, and I should say that this is such a wonderfully comic booky thing. In some of the over the top, but also devastatingly horrifying stuff that it doesn't in the story, but also visually, it's a thing you can only do in comics.
Well, yeah. Well, and J.H. Williams
obviously we have to talk about the art.
is so amazing.
More than we usually do.
He gives us 3 separate styles in this. So he has his
Yes,
the
I was
J.H.
gonna say
Williams
that.
style.
I was going to say that we're not. It doesn't consistently look like the same book the whole time, and it shouldn't. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So there's like the Batwoman, or what you think of as the Batwoman style.
Yes.
This is just how J.H. Williams draws. Like when he does Batman, like this is just what he does. But I think a lot of people saw it first with his Batwoman stuff.
And anybody else that's attempted Batwoman has tried to bring that in.
Well, and of course.
So it is thought of as the Batwoman style, even if he does it with other things.
Then there's like this, which is almost indie comic-y.
I think it reads very Vertigo.
Yeah, yeah. And then when we get to the flashbacks,
And
the flashbacks
this might sound awful, but that reads like any Vertigo book you think of as being aimed at women. It's like a chick Vertigo book. It looks like those.
And then there's a third style for the flashbacks, which reminds me a lot of
Like Archie comics?
I was thinking Batman Year One, Mazzucchelli.
Okay, that's it. Sure.
And also the guy who does Gotham Central. It reminds me a lot of that. But he gives us 3 separate styles that are
And it's
all
the
great.
same guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're colored completely differently
Yep,
too.
yep.
It's really impressive. And like the Batwoman stuff is like pseudo photorealistic. And then the
And
other
it's not
styles
jarring.
are sketchier.
Because it also doesn't randomly go back and forth. Batwoman is drawn in the jagged panels. Kane is drawn in the one way, and sometimes it's in the same scene. Like
Yes, but it serves as transitions very
Yeah.
often too. It helps you get a sense of the passage of time sometimes. It makes flashbacks very clear.
But like this, we have Batwoman, and then goes to her out of costume. Like this is what it looks like when she's out of costume. This is what it looks like when she's in costume. It's great.
Almost as if, and I think that maybe helps keep you in the character's head too, because almost as if like this is how I see myself when I'm Batwoman, and this is how I see myself when I'm out of that costume.
And it looks painted.
Yep.
The colors are very watercolor.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that this is going to sound weird. The thing that first leapt out at me the first time I looked at that art. So not reading it this time, but I mean, like I've seen that art. I just haven't actually sat and read this. Is what he does with lips.
Yes.
And the way the light hits lips, just super realistically. It's really cool. There's something really provocative about the way he does that. It's cool.
And he's just got some incredible I don't know, just like how he, and I want to say it's Dave Stewart that does the colors. Is that correct? Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart is like one of the 3 colorists I know. I can't tell you what he did. I'm pretty sure he does Hellboy. But like there's a
I don't know colorists right off.
There is a handful of colorists that do most of the books you've ever heard of. And Dave Stewart is one of them.
Interesting.
Dave Stewart is like a multi-Eisner award-winning colorist. Like he does everything.
Yeah, because I think it's important to note that if the same colorist is doing all three of those styles, that's just as impressive
Yeah.
as the same artist
Yep.
drawing them that way.
And I'm pretty sure, let me just double check, but yeah, colors is Dave Stewart. Yeah, he colored all of it.
Usually when you see a thing like this, and this is not knocking the collaborative nature of comics by any stretch, but usually when you see a thing like this, you'll see 3 artist names.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is very impressive that he's able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me a little bit of Ben Edlund's early issues of The Tick, where like there are different panels that are drawn in different styles, except that here it's 3 very distinct things.
How'd you feel about Alice?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
But there was something else I wanted to add. I wanted to mention. Just sticking on art for just a minute, if we can. I think he's got some of the best panel layouts just ever. I've always been in love with the like take a bat symbol and put all the panels.
There's one in
it.
Black Glove where it's like a glove. It's like just across
So cool.
the page. It's great.
He's amazing at those kinds of panel layouts. Who was doing Green Arrow during 52 and did Old Man Logan later?
Oh yeah, I can't think of what his name is, but he works with Jeff Lemire. Yeah,
they have a
yes.
it's not exactly the same thing, but it's taking a page, and I think all of this starts with Steranko. It's taking a page with your panel layouts and making it one image. If you put it on the wall, you wouldn't even think to look at the different panels, but there's a story happening within it.
And
it's
almost
those kinds of layouts.
almost never in this book is it difficult to figure out which panel goes where.
No, it's not.
It directs your eye most of the time.
It does. The only issue I have with it, me personally, is just sometimes I get so distracted by the whole, I almost forget to look at the individual pieces. I know that sounds really silly, but I almost forget to read the story before I turn the page. I'll be looking at this.
That's
great
amazing.
image.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah, I do that a lot with this. So I read a lot of comics in digital these days, and I looked at this in digital. That's not the best way to read this.
I wouldn't think so because there's so many double page splashes.
Yeah, and I did a lot of panel to panel with that, but I'm glad I did because it broke it up for me. So that I wasn't just looking at the whole. That was helpful for me personally. But yeah, the reason I bring that up is because there's so much double page spread in this, and it also is part of why it reads so fast. This is not a thick trade. It's 6 issues, but that's deceptive because it's only is it 7?
It's 7.
It's only 14 or 15 pages per issue because there was a backup feature.
Yes.
And the question backup feature, which we didn't read for this because it doesn't have anything to do with the story.
That's not the trade.
But it's not a full 20 pages or even 19. I mean, it's.
I thought it was.
It's less than that.
I thought it was 20.
It's not.
I thought this was part of them covering the moving from 22 to 20.
I know that's what you thought, but I looked at it when I was looking at the
15?
individual issues, and it's 14 or 15 pages.
Wow,
Now,
okay.
later on, the last 1 or 2 are like 27 or 28 pages, so it does go to that. But the first several, the full page count for the entire issue is 22 or 23 pages,
Okay.
and the backup feature is 8 or 9.
Okay.
It is that second issue. Nothing happens in that. It's like one scene. Like
Okay.
the second issue, it's just like she gets injected and gets sick or whatever, or whatever makes her sick, and then she fights the animal people, and then that's all that happens to that issue. Like, it's so fast, I couldn't believe it was done.
Yeah,
It was
fair.
crazy. If you read it in trade, you wouldn't notice it as much.
Yeah.
But I looked at it issue to issue.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
that was
interesting.
very strange. I started looking back. I was like, did anything happen in this issue? But anyway,
Yeah, you're right. That's really short. You're right. One thing I want to mention because I don't want to forget.
Yes, sir.
So, you know what? One of the smartest things about this is, as we were talking about how like certain things placed it squarely when it came out. You know what's really smart? They don't tell you anything about Batman when she meets Batman
At
here.
all.
Because
you wouldn't know if he was Dick Grayson or Bruce Wayne.
and this comes out when Batman Robin's coming out.
Yep. That is Dick Grayson.
Well, I think it's ambiguous so that in the future you don't have to read it as Dick Grayson.
Oh, really?
I think so. I also think it may have been written before Dick Grayson took over as Batman, so it's supposed to be Bruce Wayne. When it comes out, it's Dick Grayson. But then, for the future, no one knows going back to this. Nothing tells you that it's Dick Grayson. But when it came out, theoretically, it is Dick Grayson.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I just knew when it was printed.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that in the comics at that time, Bruce Wayne is back in time and Dick Grayson is Batman. But it's nicer to read it as Bruce Wayne if you can get away with that, because that larger-than-life, I'm seeing Batman for the first time in the flashback scene, is way better. Well, no. I'm sorry. That would be Bruce Wayne, regardless.
Yeah.
Sorry, that is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
But even in the present, the first time she meets him, that is better if it's Bruce Wayne.
It's way better if it's Bruce Wayne, and I think...
But if he's intentionally writing it ambiguous, he writes it really well. You couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Because Dick Grayson does do a Batman.
Well, he's got like 4 lines of dialogue. But it's much more important that she meets Batman.
But that makes me interested to know what it reads like in Cutter, because the very next arc, he's in it more.
Yeah.
Or at least it opens with him. And
Yeah.
it opens with him talking to Gordon.
And I haven't read that stuff since the individual issues.
Yeah. So I doubt very seriously if that reads more ambiguous.
You want to talk about Alice?
I bet that'll tell you for sure. So I resisted that immediately.
Okay.
Initially. Once we know that it's, spoiler alert, actually her sister and everything, it gets really interesting, and it's one of the better versions of that story that I've seen.
The evil sibling that you didn't know was still alive?
Yeah, that you thought was dead the whole time, or just any kind of family member, right? Like, I'm fighting this person the whole time, and I'm wondering why it's so personal for them. Oh, it turns out that it's it's kind of the Hush thing in a way. Where that's not his family, but it's a friend he thought had died.
Yeah,
and, is obsessed with him, but and also it's interesting that this happened so close to Black Mirror. Because of Gordon's kid.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought of that. But yeah, I only resisted it initially because, like I said, first of all, I've got to read all of this dialogue that's like straight out of Lewis Carroll, and it's a little bit tedious. To have to read that stuff, and some of it's really clever with some of the double entendre and like finding ways to actually say something that makes sense as a response, but in that speak. Like, that's interesting.
I believe all of the direct quotes. Like, it's not Lewis Carroll speak, it's all from Alice.
I said that because I was hesitating because I wasn't sure.
I'm pretty
but
sure
it reads like it's all straight out
is.
of Lewis Carroll.
And I think that's unbelievably impressive that you would be able to find... Like, that must be a pain. Finding the exact sentences.
It's incredibly impressive. But did you not find it a little tedious to read?
I did when I read it originally, back in issues, but I did not this time.
Okay.
But I was just so impressed where I'm like, that fits perfectly.
No, that's cool. The other... and also it makes you question her sanity.
Well,
It makes you question her insanity. If you think about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because she had to memorize Lewis Carroll. That's not an easy thing. That's not a thing that
but also, she's not completely not lucid. She's not just saying random. Like I said, it's a bunch of. It feels like a bunch of random speak, but when you're really looking at it, it isn't. It's just she also is a crazy person. So I don't know how much I'm supposed to read into.
But it also creates an effect. I don't know if you could do if she was just crazy speaking when she breaks. And she has the one line of dialogue
Which
that's
is
not...
one of the best moments in the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Because then it makes you wonder if it was an act the whole time, or if something happened that, like, snapped her out of it. And I don't know, because we don't get any more.
Yep.
It's rough.
She looks terrible in the CW show.
Oh, was she in it?
Oh, yeah, she's in it.
Oh, that's weird.
And it doesn't look like she's speaking Lewis Carroll. She just looks like the Joker, like just a crazy chick.
The way that show looks... I wouldn't be doing very much from this actual material. I wouldn't be trying to adapt any of this at all. Because I just don't...
I'm not stylistically trying to make it look like this at all.
No, they're not. But let's not talk about that anymore.
The actress is a good pick for this character. Like, now having read her. Like, the actress is a good pick.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I saw her in the role.
Yeah.
In the crossover.
Yeah.
And, yeah, she's great. It's just the writing's not. But anyway, I mean, she was fine in the couple scenes she was in.
It should have been a movie, right? Like, this didn't...
That's the thing is, I think this is a thing you can serialize and you can do a big series of. I also wish that Rucka had written a bunch more of it so there was more material to draw from. But there are a lot of comic things where I'm like, why in the world did you truncate that into 2 hours? Yeah, this you can do that.
All you have to do is give an ending to this, and you can structure it like Begins. You take the flashback stuff and you pepper it in throughout the first half of the film.
Batwoman Begins.
Yeah.
No, it'd be great.
Pretty sure that's what the first arc of that Rebirth Detective Comics
is. It really?
Called. I think it's called Batwoman Begins.
That's funny. But yeah, I'm totally with you. I would have sprinkled all the flashback stuff in it more from the beginning if you did it as a movie. I like this structure. a lot because I didn't even. It's funny because it's detective. I didn't even know we were dealing with a mystery of who exactly she is. The mystery is more, why does the organization care about Batwoman?
Which is not resolved here.
It's not. And I guess her specifically, but I didn't spend the whole time really thinking, like, gee, I wonder who this woman is. I would have, and I would have called it immediately if we'd had any flashbacks with the sister at the beginning.
So maybe that would be more difficult if you're trying to structure it as a movie.
It may be. But I was a little, but once again, I always bring this up, but I was duped by fake Ra's al Ghul, so who knows?
Yeah.
But with this, usually I would kind of question that structure, but it worked for me. Where we're doing basically an entire arc, and then we start giving the backstory for this character, and I don't know why that appealed to me. That worked really well for me.
Yeah, no, I think it's just because it puts you right in it. We also immediately addressed the Mad Hatter thing with Alice.
Yeah, and that was the second thing I was going to say that I resisted about it was like. It feels like we had to do like in a way like a female version of Mad Hatter. I mean, it's not Mad Hatter, but it's like we have to go back to Lewis Carroll and find like the girl version of that. And I'm glad we addressed it, but I still have that a little bit.
Okay, but see, everybody goes Mad Hatter. There are other Lewis Carroll themed Batman villains that aren't connected to Mad Hatter. There's also the Carpenter and Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
There's a big difference.
They work with Mad Hatter sometimes?
Alice is the character he's obsessed with.
That's true. And maybe he would have done something with that.
And I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have eventually gotten to that. If Mad Hatter meets this woman who thinks she is or is pretending to, because I don't even know that entirely, that she's Alice from Alice in Wonderland, does he respond to that? Does he decide that that's actually who she is?
I don't know. I also don't know what happens to her after this
It's a
because I've
question.
never read more than this. Rereading this, I was like, I should try that New 52 stuff. Because, like, it's written by J.H. Williams. Like, at least part of the creative team from this is...
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I don't know what kind of a writer he is.
I don't either. I've heard it's good. I just didn't care because it wasn't Rucka.
Yeah, but now I feel like I just listened to a song with an unresolved chord. And so even if it's not great, I almost want to read it just to see any kind of resolution.
There's something else I wanted to mention
Yeah.
before we went, and I can't even remember what it is. But no, it's really good.
I highly recommend this.
There is a
anybody.
hardcover now of this, and it has the 3 issues that this doesn't have, the Cutter stuff. And I don't know if that's good, but I imagine it's still written by Rucka.
It's worth it just for the art, but of course the story is wonderful.
Yes.
But I should say, I think it's a good story. I think the stuff with her dad is the best stuff in it. I respond more to her background and it's a good origin story, and I like that we get a story before we have to deal with the origin. But I should mention that too. And again, kind of done like Batman Begins in that way. But I like that. What was I going to say? I like all the personal stuff with her more than I like the villain plot.
Sure. No, that's fair.
Like,
it's
I was
kind of
very interested in her ideology, and it's a really solid origin. Like how she ends up deciding to be that character, and the way she wins her dad over is great.
I think I like the villain stuff, but it doesn't go anywhere because it's not finished. And it's like, I think the religion of crime is interesting, and I like the idea that there was this prophecy that like the twice named daughter of Cain will die, but then Alice theoretically dies. And that does fulfill the prophecy, and like there's a bunch of stuff I think is really interesting there.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's all set up. We don't get to see what happened. Then what happened?
That's true. It's kind of easy to not even think about some of that stuff because there's not a resolution for it.
And I'd be interested to know if the New 52 resolves that stuff.
If I was gonna adapt, this is like thinking backwards. This is.
I would ask Rucka what the ending is.
This is after a bunch of stuff has happened already, but if I could somehow adapt this in any extra media or adapt the religion of crime, it'd go in Batman Beyond.
Oh yes,
that's like a Batman Beyond idea.
That is a Batman Beyond idea. Also, if they put money into it, this could be a beautiful animated film.
Absolutely. I think you could do it in live action
like
too.
Like Netflix Castlevania, you could do it like that.
Sure.
Just
make it look all painted.
If I was making the TV show, or a movie, but since there is a TV show coming out, if I was making that, I would try to do something. Like, whether it's like scene transitions or like I would try to do something that at least evokes this. It looks like all of the other CW shows. It should look stylistic.
There are a lot of things that make me not interested at all in that show, and I found myself even less interested in it
After reading
this material. Yeah. I kind of just, there's a part of me that kind of just doesn't even want to know.
I also love that she wears a wig.
And
I feel so smart.
I'm not saying for sure that I'm not going to at least review the pilot, but I don't want to. At this point, I'm still thinking I probably won't, but I don't want to say that and then a video comes up, okay, Cap, you hypocrite, you said you weren't going to review that. Yeah, the wig thing is great. Batman's like, do something with your hair. You're going to get it yanked.
Yep.
That's a bad idea.
But it's a great disguise. Having Black Canary used to do that. She used to wear a wig.
What I was gonna say, she like don't give them too much credit because we've done that with a lot of female characters before this. That's also what Felicia Hardy does, going all the way back.
Is it?
Yeah.
She wears a wig.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Almost positive. She's got the like big white hair, and it's not that when she's Felicia Hardy.
I think you're right. It's certainly that in Ultimate, but
I'm pretty sure even the '90s cartoon show did it that way, but I think that comes from the comics.
No, the '90s cartoon show, she's blonde, and that changes to white when she like injects the serum.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But I think I'm right. I think it's a wig
you might
in the
be right.
comics.
I think you might be right.
But no, it is smart. I'm just saying I don't think you can give Rucka credit for coming up with that. I think that
no, but it feels like tactical. Like it feels like it fits her and how she thinks,
and it lets her have, like Batman does, a more otherworldly quality. I don't mean to say that the red hair on its own intimidates criminals, but she doesn't look like just regular person. She looks larger.
There's
than
like a majestic thing to it.
Exactly.
I'm also not sure that Batman wouldn't know a wig, but that's not. It might be Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson might not know a wig.
That's true.
Dick Grayson might know a wig.
And sometimes that's a thing we play with, even with Bruce Wayne, where it's like Bruce Wayne knows nothing about women, and because he's confident Batman, he pretends like he knows everything.
Well, I don't even just mean women wearing wigs. Like I assume he can tell fake hair from real hair because he's Batman.
That's true. Maybe the lighting was bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything else we got to make sure and mention about that?
I don't think so.
It's wonderful. I recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, it's really good. It just doesn't have an ending.
Yeah. But
it might have an ending. Like that New 52 stuff might be an ending. It's just not written by Rucka.
Yeah. So at some point I'll need to read both 52 and New 52 Batwoman.
You have all 52, don't you?
I have a lot of it.
There's only 52 issues.
Yeah, I just don't know how much of it I have. I've been collecting that recently. But I can also read it in digital.
That's true. You could do that too.
Well, thanks a lot for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you again down the road with more comic vaults. Eric, thanks for suggesting we do this.
Yeah. I just figured, we'd just do the YouTube thing and be like, oh, something's popular, let's do it. This has actually been a thing we've talked about, I think, since I moved here. Like, it was in the box.
Oh, was it in the box?
Yeah,
Is that where you had to go find it?
Yeah,
Did you think you were missing it? And you were like, oh, wait, it's in the box.
No, I think I remembered it being in the box. We're like, we'll do this at some point.
I'm glad we're finally getting back to the box after, like, two years.
I think this is the first thing we pulled out of the box.
I think we pulled out one or two things early on. But you're right. I have had that with things. Well, where is this? Oh, yeah, it's in the box. Anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
See you again next time.